Welcome to another edition of The Manual. He is the Professor Alton Woods. I am Chip Rice. And man, did you see?
Man, did you see? I got one for you.
Okay, what did you see?
I'm sure you didn't see it because I don't think it was publicly shared, but, and I'll try not to use specific names because I don't want to disparage anybody. But anyway, so it's summer, so football tournament time, right? And so kids. Yeah.
Okay.
But so Saturday we played the second game in our schedule, at least Aiden's age group, and
So that's the to let the listeners know, that's the 12.
12U. Yep.
12U.
Yep. So one Friday, lost Saturday, good game, right? Both cases. So so we leave, we head back home. Then I get a message saying that due to multiple altercations between parents and coaches, the tournament is canceled. The remainder of the tournament. Now we were done anyway, but the teams that won had championship games scheduled for Sunday. Now I'm gonna back up just a second. Yeah. So we had when we got to the stadium on Saturday, we dropped Aiden and another one of his teammates were riding with us, dropped them off, put them in the care of the coaches. We went to get ice for the ice chest.
Okay.
So while we were gone, we get a call. Our team wasn't playing and was not involved, but there was a big fight where I think a parent came out of the stands and was fighting a coach, and there were random skirmishes going on the field at the same time. So it was defined as a brawl, right? But anyway, so when we get back, it's probably 10 or 12 state police cars and everything at the stadium.
Serious?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow.
But the long and short of it is, and I've been finding myself saying this a lot lately, it's not the kids. It's the parents.
Supposedly grown people.
But living vicariously through these kids and taking it way too serious. I'm talking about cussing and yelling. Forget the fight. That might even be a bit of an extreme. Maybe that doesn't happen at every youth sports, because I won't even make it football. We see it at soccer. We see it basketball. We see it everywhere.
Yep.
But these parents are out of control.
It's ridiculous. Man.
It is. I literally was sitting there saying, when my group, because I'm coaching 10, when they age out, I might be done with this, man. I mean, not the organization. I love the organization, and I will continue to work in the organization, love working with the kids, but these parents, man, they off the charts, man.
What is wrong with us?
We are really showing our kids how not to act.
Wow. You heard it right here on The Manual. So, we've had a lot that's going on nationally in our country, specifically the overturn of Roe versus Wade, which has taken the headlines in so many places. It's amazing that it also comes on the heels of the 50th celebration of Title IX, which did some great things for women athletes and how that has progressed certain things. And so you got something good that's going on there, but then you got something that is controversial that's going on. So I was reading an article in NPR. They were talking about the first insertion of Roe versus Wade, and the person said, one of the justices said, which I thought was really, really interesting. He said that the arguments that were initially given were so weak and were, they said, egregiously wrong, exceptionally weak, and damaging. This is what Samuel Alito said concerning the arguments. So what he's saying is that it should have never been put in place in the first place, based on the arguments that were given by the attorneys that did all this. So I thought we should just, kind of talk about it a little bit, because the thing that I keep hearing in so many circles is taking away the rights of women and the choices they have for their bodies, which I think is very interesting. So, I mean, most of just about everybody who's watching should know that Roe versus Wade is the constitutional right for a woman to have an abortion. An abortion is defined as the termination of a pregnancy. It is manual termination of a pregnancy. It's not miscarriage. It is not stillborn.
Correct.
Any of those things. It is the manual termination of a pregnancy. And so I have no expectation for people who do not serve God, who not in the kingdom, who they have their own viewpoints. But now this becomes very interesting when we start to talk about it from a biblical standpoint. What does God say about all of this? What should he even do? I had a real good discussion with Ethan, my son, on yesterday concerning this, because his thought process was, there are all of these men who are telling women what they should or should not do with their body. I said, okay, on the surface that sounds good, son, but we're gonna have to take this a little deeper,
Right.
because your argument is flawed. So when you think of choice, what do you say? Okay, when somebody gives you the argument of choice, what are some of the things that you may bring to mind?
Yeah, so a couple of things come to mind for me, and I'll address choice, but I'm gonna wrap it in a few other pieces that come to mind with me, right? So number one, let's just deal with the spiritual context. Is we know that as it relates to sin, God doesn't force us to do anything.
Absolutely.
Right? So whether it be murder, whether it be any other sin, we have a choice.
Absolutely.
Right?
Right.
And so I do, and this gets more into intent than functionality, but I do sometimes struggle with us trying to legislate morality.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now we get to the abortion in a minute,
right?
But just in general, if God didn't set it up so that it's impossible for us to sin, I don't know that I expect my government to legislate
Absolutely. Why
morality.
are we putting pressure on politicians to tell us to do right?
Right.
When God tells us
to do right and to give us a choice. Right.
Okay.
And so in general, I operate from the space of people can't force you to do things that even God doesn't force you to do. Right. Now, for a functioning society, though, there are certain things that are damaging to the whole that has to be legislated. You can't run out here and say, I'm mad, so I'm going to shoot these 10 people, and it not be a crime.
Right. You can't be late and say, well, the red lights don't apply to me anymore.
Correct.
Stop signs, I'm just going to do what I got to do.
Correct. And so I think the conversation, and one of the things I meant to look up that I didn't get a chance to is, well, let me finish my thought. I'll come back to that. But so for me, so the idea of choice. So I'm anti-abortion, but I do find a little bit of value in people being able to make a choice. If you follow what I'm saying.
Right, I do.
So I don't necessarily support the decision people make, my personal values, but I also don't know how much I want to legislate morality. Now, this conversation for me fundamentally comes down to, because murder is already illegal.
Right.
So if you believe that this is a life, law or otherwise, murder is illegal and murder is morally wrong. Yes. So whatever side of the scale you want to sit on, if you believe that this baby is a life at the time that you abort, then by definition, you have to reconcile that with one of the two.
Right.
Right. So choice basically for me just kind of boils down to people having all the information to make the right decision and choosing whatever decision they're going to be and whatever consequences come.
Right.
Right. So the piece that I find is interesting is I think there's a couple of things that are challenging for me. Number one, well, what if it's incest or rape? Right, we're gonna come to that in a second.
We had that conversation with Ethan.
Yeah, and the original statement you made is men telling women what to do with their bodies. Well, that sounds wonderful, but there's a lot of anti-abortion women. So it just so happens that the man politician is the one that's on the screen, but it's not only
because there were female justices that agreed with this.
And there were several female commentators that, you know, on various news outlets that were anti-abortion.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So let me just deal with some things real quick so we can knock this out of the way, right? So, I just happen to have the state of Florida, but I know the numbers are fairly consistent. But of reasons for abortion, pregnancy resulted from incestuous relationship, 0.01%.
I tried to tell the child that.
Right. Or the woman was raped.
0.01%.
1/100th of a percent.
Okay.
Okay. The woman was raped 0.15%.
Wow.
So if you add them together, it's less than 1%. Okay. So now let me be honest with you.
It's still less than
half of a percent. So here's my first thing. I do struggle with those two situations.
Very much
right?
So.
So I get it. Oh my God, I get it. Here's what I don't get though. Because let's be honest, if we just close our legs, we don't really have to deal with most of these situations. Okay. So I was watching CNN yesterday and they said over 70% of abortions occur. The mother lists the reason of, I cannot afford to have this child.
Wow.
Some social or economic related reason.
Right.
Chip, if that's true, can you afford rubbers? Can you afford birth control? Oh, you can, because that's free in a lot of that stuff is free. So
$30,000 to $40,000, less than $10.
Less free in most clinics.
That is
free.
Right.
And if you're on a college campus, it's been a while, but I know when I was at school, you could go to the health center and just get condoms, like they would give them to you.
Right.
And that was a while ago, so I'm imagining they're still doing it. So
I've been to barbershops where they got them sitting in bowls in there, grab some.
So here's the thing. Okay, fine. Don't have sex, you won't have to worry about abortion.
Okay,
but I get it. We hypersexual in society, right?
Okay, right.
And so more practically though, because you know when Summer was conceived, I was 32, right? And that wasn't no accident, right? I wasn't married, but it wasn't an accident. But I was also old enough to take care of him. So I've been sexually active much earlier than 32.
Right.
So I went for a long stretch where I decided that I wasn't prepared to have a child. So I didn't have a child.
So you took
and I wasn't celibate. So my point is, where I struggle is, I do whatever I want to do, however I want to do it, and then my solution, abortion, in those 70% of the cases, if that number is accurate, is a solution to a bad economic decision you made.
Right.
And so now you want the right to keep doing it. I know people who have had multiple abortions. It is their birth control. They won't take a pill or anything like that. They just go to the clinic after the fact. And that I have a problem with.
It is ridiculous for us to place so much emphasis on what your right is versus what your responsibility is.
Yes.
And when somebody made the argument, I said, I agree with you. I said, I'm pro-choice. Choose to do the right thing. Choose to do something different, because it is ridiculous for us to say, you're taking away my ability to have an abortion. Okay. How did we get here? Are you saying that contraceptives are lethal? He tried to make the argument, well, a lot of the contraceptives don't work. I said, Ethan, we can go to the stats now, but they have a 98%. What's a good word for that? A 98% workability.
Effectiveness or whatever.
Effectiveness, good word. Effectiveness in sex.
That's right.
So you're trying to tell me that we need to continue to have abortions for 2% of the situations where a condom doesn't work. You have birth control. Some women say, I don't want to take birth control because of what it does to my body. And you don't have to. But you can have protected sex.
Yep.
And so it is ridiculous. This is not a rights issue. This is a sex issue.
Yes, it is.
This is not about people's rights. This is the ability to be lewd and have all the sex that I want and do whatever it is that I want to do. And when something comes up that I don't want to deal with, then
this is how I fix it.
This is going to be my solution to it.
Right. So I guess this is gutmarker.org, but it says the reasons most frequently cited were that having a child would interfere with a woman's education, work, or ability to care for dependents, that she could not afford a baby now, and that she did not want to be a single mother or was having relationship problems. So that's the 3.
Wow.
So let's work backwards.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm having relationship problems, so I'm going to have unprotected sex with the person I'm having a relationship
Right.
problems.
You don't trust the person. You really probably might not even know them that well. And y'all can't get along. But let's go ahead and keep having sex, because what happens is we are willing to have temporary pleasure.
Yep.
And not deal with long-term problems. See,
Yep.
we get into the moment too much of, okay, you fine, I'm fine, I'm horny, I want to hit that, so now we want to get together, but then there's no talking, there's no communication, there's no compatibility, there's no foresight for what happens after this.
On two people's part.
Right, on two people's part.
Yeah,
You're right,
yeah,
you're right.
Right. So then working my way up, then the second one is I can't afford a baby. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. I understand the logic. The reason why I didn't have a baby earlier in life is, and I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't that I couldn't afford it, was because I was selfish. I wanted to spend all my money on me.
What I wanted to do.
I wanted to do what I want to do. And but the point is, so I would have these moments. I'd be like, man, this girl about to come over. Yeah, I'm not making no baby with her. Let me run to the drugstore real quick, or whatever needed to happen, right? So my point is, I wasn't even counting on her to have the proper precautions in place. I was, right? And so in these cases, we're talking about both parents not caring or thinking about the solution.
Since this is the manual, man, handle your business.
Handle your business.
Why are you putting her in a situation to fail? Because in too many cases, the man impregnates the woman, then he walks away.
Correct.
Like when they, and now if I pay child support, that's my connection, and I really don't want to connect. And then all of a sudden, you find your bride, you find your boo, and you take on this whole other family and never even consider
take care of another man's kids, but not your own.
Don't take care.
Boy,
of
I can't hardly stand that.
That's terrible. It's
terrible.
And I can speak from experience, having been there, having been through an abortion, having been in a situation where I made a child and did not connect with them early in life. God turned all of that around for me. But understanding that you can't separate yourself from the child just because you want a matter of convenience. But all of this could have been easily solved by a little abstinence or some contraceptives or something.
Absolutely.
And here we are. I mean, people are going crazy over this Roe versus Wade thing. When it's like it ain't the government fault. It's yours. It's your choice.
Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. So anyway, I say all of that just to say.
So did we get all three? We got.
And the third one is it would interfere with work, education, or caring for another dependent, which I'm gonna put with a forward, right? I'm just kind of lumping those two together.
Okay.
So because I mean, technically, if I can afford a nanny, it won't interfere with anything, right? So, but all of which are me problems, selfish, right? So my thing is this: the three that we just talked about.
Yep.
So I want to go back for any women that are watching this, because I hear this a lot, and I want to be honest with you. I don't have an answer. I can tell you what I believe spiritually, but I understand the paradox in incest and rape. I get it. Yeah. I get it. That's hard, man. It's hard for me to look at a woman and say, you've been raped, you better carry this baby.
Yeah, I would literally have to just go into prayer and say, God, what do we do?
God lead us. I don't even know, right? And then the other one that I am clear on is I'm at a hospital, my wife is pregnant, and her life is in danger.
Yeah. Right, it's like, you have to make a choice.
I have to make a choice.
So those are real life situations.
Yes.
But the issue is they're less than 0.5%.
For the other 99% that have nothing to do with those things, that's the issue. And now, by the way, let me also give you a quick civics lessons, politics lesson. All this did was put the decision back in the hands of the state that you live in.
That's all.
The
right.
politicians that you vote for.
Right.
And so if you live in a state that doesn't represent your values, then move, or get out to the polls, organize, get the people in that support whatever your value system is. Because at the end of the day, I won't call any states out, but you live in a conservative state. They've always felt this way. I heard a lady on the news yesterday said, we have been planning for this day for decades. We've been working at this, right? And so my point is, this is why you need to get out and vote. It's not just about the presidential election. In fact, I would say that's one of the least important votes that you make. Getting those senators, those representatives, those are the people that at the end of the day, listen, but there's stuff Biden want to do that he can't do because he don't control the Senate. Right. So your local elections matter, right? Because these states had, in many cases, actions in place that automatically triggered once this got.
As soon as this came in,
as soon as this got flipped, boom,
boom,
right?
Just like that.
So go ahead.
So now I'm going to take. Let's take it to the spiritual, because like I said, I can't speak for unbelievers, but now
That's right.
I've come out of darkness into the marvelous light.
That's right.
This is not about your feelings.
That's right.
This is not about your emotions. This is about whether or not God is true. Now, Scripture says, let God be true and let every man be a lie.
That's right.
Now, if he's true, then Jeremiah 1:5 says, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you.
I knew you.
And I ordained you a prophet. So that meant that the person was in the supernatural as a spirit. And when sperm and egg came together, this now becomes the vehicle by which they exist. That makes them a person. And so they're a person at conception.
That's right.
So now, here's what I said. Okay, I heard somebody say, but they're taking away my choice. I said, all right. So if a man and woman come together, they conceive, and now there's a child in your womb, even at conception, and you say, I should have the choice to be able to abort this child.
That's right.
How does the other person get a choice?
Yep.
How does the person that is in your womb, how do they get to make a choice? Because now you're making a choice for them. The same thing that you're indicting other people for, you're doing.
That's right.
Because you just made a choice for another person.
That's right.
This is for believers. Now, for unbelievers, if you don't believe that, then you got a whole nother set of things. I'm just saying about the truth of God. And so that's the issue that I have. That you're saying that I want to be able to choose what I can do with my body. Well, there's a person inside you that wants to choose that too.
That's right.
And any man that would try to tell you or force you to have an abortion, he's just as culpable as you are.
Absolutely. So one of the things I'll share, I know we're about out of time, but I want to share, because the other piece that I wanted to look at is how many great people were on the doorstep of abortion that we would have lost had somebody went through with it, right? And so just a couple off the top. Tim Tebow, right? And regardless of how you feel about his playing ability,
right. Florida loves me.
Florida loves him, right? But his mother, Pam Tebow, was encouraged to abort him by doctors due to complications that might affect her and him.
Wow.
Right? That's how close we were to not having Tim Tebow. But, our audience might not care about Tim Tebow. Right. So let's give them who they care about, Oprah Winfrey. Right? Yep. Let's see. This says, although Oprah supports the abortion procedure, which is ironic, it is a good thing her teenage mother did not. Her teenage mother gave her the gift of life even when others encouraged her to abort Oprah. So the mother was being encouraged by people around her to abort her.
Wow.
Right. Wow. And so the list goes on and on and on and on through a couple of different ways. I'm Steve Jobs, Pope John Paul II, Nick Cannon, Eartha Kitt, the game, whatever, right? The list goes on.
Wow.
My point is that what if the person that's on the inside is destined to change the world?
To change the world. Not only change the world, but change your world.
Absolutely.
To change that mother's world, to change that father's
Absolutely.
world. But because we're short-sighted, we say that I can't go through with this. So it's a hard conversation. And I almost wish we could have had a woman in here to help us with the conversation. Maybe
Let's do it next week.
Maybe we'll come back with that, and talk about it, because I don't want to speak from an area of arrogance,
Correct,
or ignorance,
correct,
because there's certain things that women go through that I would have no concept of.
Absolutely.
And so I have to just go by what I know is right by God.
Absolutely.
And then you can educate me and tell me, okay, well, these are the
Absolutely.
areas you need to consider. And say, okay, hey,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Absolutely.
But based on statistics, most of those decisions are all about us.
Absolutely.
And what we want.
Absolutely.
Wow. It's been another edition of The Manual. Thank you so much for being with us. I pray that you would like, share, comment, let us know what you think, and hopefully we'll be able to address some of those things. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube,
Twitter,
somewhere else, Twitter. Yeah, you can find us a whole bunch of places, and we look forward to interacting with you, especially with men. So y'all have a great day, and we'll see you next week.